Hi folks, and welcome to another 5 Minute Friday here on Meaningful Money. Thank you so much for joining me. Can I say how handsome you're looking today? Today I'm going to talk about something called the rule of thirds. It's another thing which, actually, did I make it up? I want to say I made it up, but I think I might actually be stealing somebody else's thunder. I almost certainly didn't make it up. I'm clearly not that intelligent or creative. But anyway, I shall take all the credit for it today and talk about the rule of thirds. So let's put 5 minutes on the clock down here and let's get going. First thing to say about the rule of thirds is that it's a rule of thumb only. It's not a hard and fast rule. You've got to be careful with rules of thumb and not apply them too religiously, but instead just use them as a basis for your thinking. Now, the rule of thirds specifically applies to the use of money in retirement. So, if you're not in retirement yet, you can turn this video off or go watch something else on YouTube or on Netflix or something. But if you're approaching retirement or in retirement, hopefully this rule will help you think about which aspects of your money you're likely to use at different points. What I mean by that is the first third of your money is money that you will definitely use during your lifetime. The second third is money that you'll probably use. You might not use it all, you might just use part of it, but you'll probably use some or all of it. And then the third third, the final third, is money that you almost certainly will not use. Now, really important, these are not going to be exact numerical thirds. Don't divide your total wealth into 3 exact thirds and then sue me in 20 years' time because you spend too much of it or whatever. No, these may not be numerical thirds, they're just notional thirds. And it may be that the first third is actually half of your total liquid wealth, the second third is 40%, and the third third is only the remaining 10. Who knows? It'll be different for everybody. That's the point. But what does it matter? What does it matter what third you're going to use or not? Well, the thinking is that that first third is money you're going to be using first. It's money you're going to be using in the next X number of years. Might be 5, might be 10, probably 10 to 15 years if you're in the sort of early stages of retirement. This is money you are definitely going to use, and it should be invested accordingly. If you didn't catch last week's 5 Minute Friday, listen back to that or watch that back, because I talked about how to flex the risk you take with your investments depending on your time scale, and that's a really important concept. So this is money that you're going to use in the medium to long term, say 10 to 15 years, well, really from now until maybe 10 to 15 years out, and so you should invest it accordingly. Now, the second third is likely to be much longer term. You're probably not going to access this money, I mean, if at all, but you probably will. Remember, this is money you're probably going to use at least some of. So that means you're probably not going to touch it for maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years, maybe even longer. And because of that time scale, you can invest accordingly. Maybe you can lock up that money into investments where you can't access it. Only do that if there is a benefit for locking money away. You know, get a higher interest rate, or sometimes tax advantaged investments mean that you have to lock your money away for 3 or 5 years. And you can invest more aggressively. Again, that's what we were talking about last week. Because of the time scale, you can afford to ramp the risk up because you're not going to touch it for 15, 20 years. A noisy motorbike just went past the window. That's annoying. So what about the final third? Well, this is money, remember, that you're almost certainly never going to need. So what should you do with that? Well, I think you should consider making gifts out of that money, first of all. If you're in the early stages of retirement, don't give too much away. Gifts are meant to be irrevocable, and you don't want to give too much away only to find out that actually you wished you'd kept hold of that money because you're going to need it. But if you are thinking of making gifts, give it out of that third, that money which you've identified you're almost certainly never going to need. If you're going to invest it, you can invest for all-out growth, because you're never going to need this money, remember, so it doesn't really matter how it performs, but you might as well push it so that there's more there to leave to your kids or grandkids or the charities that you care about. And finally, you could consider getting that money out of your estate, either by giving it away, as we talked about, or maybe investing in certain ways which take advantage of different reliefs, and maybe trust arrangements which get it out of your estate, potentially to save inheritance tax if that's a problem for you. So 3 thirds, money you're definitely going to use, money you may probably use some or all of, and money you almost certainly will never use. But as you're thinking about your money, maybe block it into these 3 thirds, because that will inform how you invest, how you give, and some other things as well as part of your financial planning. Needless to say, a competent financial planner can help you with this stuff, help you identify your thirds specific to your situation. I'm always banging the drum for good financial planning advice. Why? Because I am one. And, you know, I like me. Thank you for watching this 5 Minute Friday. Hope you're getting benefit from these. Please hit the like button underneath the video. Leave me a review on iTunes if you're listening to the audio of this. And just generally say hi because, you know, it massages my ego and I love to hear from you. Have a great weekend and I'll speak to you next week.